Hey, all right.
Oh man,
Okay, it's just me again.
this is always
I'm always
first.
first.
How is that possible?
Because
What do you
I'm
actually
Percy.
do?
I'm first. Idea first.
What do you
first.
actually do, Purse? What do you
Huh?
actually do? Do you? Because I hover like that far away
I'm
from
actually
the
just
camera.
like over here. It's like go. Right.
And yet you, how can you?
I
How
fake
can
it.
you always beat me? 'Cause
can't believe
I'm just,
you
So
two.
I just do this, right? I'm like this. I'm really close, and I just slide smoothly in,
No,
and
it's
you
like
always
that
beat
half.
me.
It's the half body thing. It's like wow. See, it's like they talk you
Percy
midway.
is just so competitive that you just want to win. That's it. I just wait the side and goes, oh, you know what? Let just Percy get in first because you know what? He's very competitive. Let him get there.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you very much. You're a true friend. You're a true friend.
I gotta work on it. I don't have the thigh muscles because I'm hovering, right? I'm hovering.
Yeah.
And I gotta,
It's the
gotta
knees.
improve
It's
my
all about
thigh.
the
Do more
knees.
squats. Gotta do more
Do
squats.
more squats.
Do more squats, and that's if you've been watching the show, that's how we start it every week. And thank you so much for tuning in. Like always, I'm Jien in Singapore. That's competitive Percy in the Philippines, and that's hovering Ange in Hong Kong. Welcome to a show we created called Dear Future Grandkids. Now, this is the show where we ask an interesting guest a big question. What would you say to your future grandkids?
Yes, we are live on YouTube and Facebook. Back at our time slot, 11 a.m. on Saturday. Hope you're having a great weekend. Hope you're all well, ready to fire up the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some amazing guests on the show in the past. We've had actors, models, radio DJs, travelers, singer-songwriters. Just lovely connecting with them, getting to know them. And on this episode, we're meeting someone with a really fascinating job that we haven't come across until today.
Yeah, I think it's one of the toughest jobs in the world. So today we'll be building a video time capsule for a person who's a Hong Kong-bred bilingual stand-up comedian performing in both Cantonese and English. He has had the opportunity to take a sense of humor all over the world, including Hong Kong, China, Macau, Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, and Canada. And having been ranked as a top comedian in Hong Kong, and in 2014, the world-famous Laugh Factory in the US ranked him as one of the top 10 comedians in their annual Funniest Person in the World competition. In 2015, he represented Asia's Best in Melbourne's International Comedy Festival's inaugural Comedy Zone Asia shows. And then in 2016, he was featured in Comedy Central's first ever Stand-Up Asia shows. And in 2018, he was one of the recipients of the 10 Outstanding Young Person Selection in Hong Kong, an annual prize that started back in 1970 to showcase the city's outstanding next generation. Talk about accolades and awards. So we're very proud. Please welcome to the show, Vivek Mahbubani.
Hey, hello. Thank you so much for having me. All right, yes. We're here.
That was an introduction. The accolades is just like we could roll over a lot more. Whoa, you've been busy.
I don't
You
know
were
why.
busy.
I get a lot of these awards that have really long titles. Normally people are like winner. I'm like, this is the outstanding youth of the Hong Kong Continuum of 2014. It happened, man. Yeah.
But you're
This is
top
the
10
best-
material. Top
Yeah,
10.
this is the best bilingual comedian that was born in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
The name that begins with V, number one.
Yeah.
I want to see
Exactly.
that on a
I'm like,
trophy.
just see, I'm funny.
Yeah.
Say that again?
I want to see that on a trophy. It was really long, huh?
Oh, that's the problem. The Hong Kong apartments are so small, I can't fit the trophy in. That's why I don't have one of those.
Oh, there you go. There you go. It's a choice. It's a choice.
Yeah,
Hey,
I'm like, I
Vivek.
can't take that. Thank you for the award, but I can't take it. No space, no space.
So, Vivek, the name of our show is Dear Future Grandkids. So, we always ask people the question: did you ever imagine yourself as a grandfather?
I would tell you this, like the funny thing is I keep thinking to myself when I'm an old, typical oh, hey, look at
Look at
that.
this guy.
Yeah. Looking
Hey.
good, grandfather.
Hey,
Look at that.
cool.
Hey, I've got the wrinkles as well. I like that. Hey, I like the fact that you believe when I'm a grandfather, I still have hair on my head. That is confidence. I can't believe, and you believe I'm still that flexible. I love how you guys have so much positive. Like this guy's gonna be able to do this pose when he's at his 80 years old. Gonna be cool to his kids. Oh no, when I'm like an old man, I'm just gonna sit over like, get off my lawn. I don't have a lawn. Oh damn. Okay. Get off my chair or something. No, I actually I cannot imagine myself being that typical old man who's sitting there looking at the new generation going like, I don't understand these kids anymore. I'm starting to have the trouble already, with social media where I'm just like, what have to do? How do I use this filter? I don't understand. Right. But I'm waiting for the day. I'll tell you this. I'm looking forward to the day when I'm old, just like those photos, because I just want to see, will I be that typical stereotype like, hey, kids, back in my day? Oh, I want us to be able to say that.
Oh, man.
We will see.
Vivek.
We will see.
Well, we'll see indeed. So, Vivek, your story is really unique. Bilingual stand-up comedian based in Hong Kong, one of the most cynical, tough places to make it as a comedian. I mean, what made you decide on this really weird career choice?
It dates back to a lot of my growing up here. I went to a predominantly Chinese school, right? So what was bizarre is that I slowly developed this weird thing where whatever my classmates were doing, just somehow it wouldn't work for me. So for example, if my classmates wanted to be doctors and lawyers, I'll be like, oh, I guess that's not right for me. Because very often, let's say all my Chinese classmates, they would get like a certain shirt, right? And they put it on, looks so cool. I wear it, it's like, just something about this doesn't fit you, right? So it's always been the type where whatever everyone's doing, somehow that probably is not the right choice for me. And eventually I started, encountering things like stand-up comedy, heavy metal music and stuff like that. And I love the idea that it's like, you have to really like it or you're just not gonna like it. It's like durian, you either really like it or you don't like it at all. So I love, right? So I love the fact that I was like, oh, this is so cool. Exactly. There's no like, oh, I like it, or, every now and then. There's no every now and then. You either do or you don't, right? That's very simple. And comedy was one of these things where I was like, this is so simple. You're just talking to a mic. I can talk. I just don't have a mic. I can do this. And then over time, I was like, I just want to see what it's like, once in my life. And I told myself one day, I was like, before I die, I want to try stand-up comedy. Now, most people would think, bucket list would be maybe, paragliding in the sky or going to Paris or whatever. But me, I'm like, I want to entertain strangers, right? And I figured, okay, I guess that's the path I'm taking. And it was just one of these things that I had it back in my head. I did not know when or where, but it was more like I just said, if it happens, it happens. And in 2007, I saw an article that said stand-up comedy competition. And I was like, hey, I think this is the opportunity I've been waiting for. I just joined it, and apparently I was funny enough where people laughed, and I was like, this is fantastic. I love it. And then I just decided for fun, let me keep doing it. And from a hobby of like, let's just say something silly on stage to where can I take this? Because like I always like to see how far I can go with stuff. So with comedy, it was one of those things where I was like, if I can keep generating new ideas, why not? And just see where this goes for me. So it's really just one of those things that those crazy ideas you have one day, like one day I'm going to blah, blah, blah. And one day you're like, oh, I'm actually going to blah, blah, blah tonight. Okay, I guess okay, let's do this. And 10 years later, I'll be like, I'm a professional blah, blah, blah. This is what I do.
I
Wow.
want that business card, a professional blah, blah,
Wow.
blah.
Yeah.
I'm putting that on my business card.
Go for it, man. They're like, how does this work? I'm like, come to my show. You'll be like, that was nonsense.
Hey, folks, random dreams can come true. Let that be a lesson.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to get to know you a bit better with some quick fire questions. So here they come. Where were you born?
Do it. Born in Hong Kong, SAR.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school. Primary school was in St. Joseph's Primary School in Wan Chai, Chinese school, all boys school. Went to secondary
I
school,
know it.
Dao Station Boys School, also all boys school. Went to university in City University here in Hong Kong, not all boys. Apparently, my family was like, it's time he met the opposite gender. And so, yeah, those are the three places I got educated in.
Okay.
Good schools.
Oh, good schools. Vivek, in 3 words, describe yourself.
Odd one out.
Perfect. I thought it was blah, blah, blah.
No, that's what I say. But this
That's
is,
what you say.
this is different.
Out one out,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Okay,
Yeah,
what was
exactly.
your first real job?
My first real job where I actually sat in an office and everything was a web developer / designer. I worked for 6 months, full-time job, woke up early, did not want to wake up, but had to wake up, and every day sat there and just was like, come on, when do I get off work? So first real job was web designer / developer.
Wow.
Alright.
Web developer to stand-up comedian.
Exactly,
Massive
right?
transition. So you mentioned earlier that you entered a stand-up competition in 2007. Is that your first stand-up performance? Is that, yeah? Where was that?
So officially, yes. That was
Yeah.
actually the first time I performed in front of a live audience, and that was actually at a place called Takeout Comedy here in Hong Kong. And they basically ran a stand-up comedy competition for the first time, open to the public in English and Cantonese. So that was my first real encounter. Before that, I went to a couple of open mics because you had to go through that to be applicable for the competition. But other than that, I'd never officially performed in front of people. Basically, I've never performed where people actually paid to hear what I had to say before that day.
Wow. And do you remember the first time you did that? Was it in English or in Cantonese, or was it both already at the same time?
So it was, I believe the first round was English, and then the finals was one round of Cantonese and one round of English as well. So there were two separate shows. But I do remember that basically it didn't really make too much of a difference to me because like a lot of times in my life I speak in both English and Cantonese. So if I'm speaking in Cantonese, my brain just switches to Cantonese. So it's just doing the show in the other language I normally speak in anyway.
Amazing. Now, okay, I guess as a stand-up comedian, everyone expects you to be funny all the time. But I've got to ask you this question, okay? Is there a quick go-to joke that you always pull out when you're on dates? Like you always have this go-to joke?
So generally no, because like if I go on a date and let's say someone says, hey, so you're a comedian, make me laugh. I'm like, this is not going to work because again, you didn't buy a ticket and that's how I make my income. This dinner's not cheap, so I get anything for free. And that's why I stick to one girl for a long time. I've been with my girlfriend for like 4 years. I'm like, I can't. This is it. I can't do the whole dating thing because they're gonna ask me for jokes, and you hate my jokes. I like this.
She passed the test.
Yeah, exactly.
So funny. I've lived in Hong Kong many years, and that I know about you because my friends who English is their first language, but they paid to go to one of your Cantonese shows because they think you're particularly funny. The way you speak Cantonese and the way that you relate to what happens in local daily life in Hong Kong, they love so much. We have a clip right now coming up with you doing the same joke in 2 languages. So we're going to start with hearing you do it, I think, in English. So let's play the clip.
A couple of weeks ago, I basically was walking down the street, listening to my music and my earphones, and just do my own thing. It's 4 p.m. I remember it's precisely Hollywood Road. I'm walking down the street. I see these 2 cops, right? They're walking towards me, and in my head, I was like, I wonder if they'll check my ID card. Now, because I was thinking that, my eyes were like looking at them, like, I wonder if they will check my ID card. And I made eye contact, so they're like, we're gonna check his ID card. However, I had my earphones on, so I couldn't really hear what they were saying, but I could lip read. They were like,
我想講咧，其實即係我經常俾人查身份證，我都已經係慣咗啦。但係啱啱前幾日咧，我好好地喺行街喎，因為我好多時我中意去公園寫嘢嘅咁樣。咁我有一日咧晏晝4點零鐘，咁啊就帶住我啲兒童咧就喺度行緊街，咁我見到2位警察。但係平時咧醒目咧，我咧就會即刻唔好望佢噶啦，係咪做咩望佢咧？望第度啦咁樣。但係咧嗰日咧，我自己喺度幻想緊，喺度自己同自己講嘅嘢啊，唔知佢會唔會 check 我身份證咧咁樣。但因為我咁樣講，我隻眼就好自然地望住佢哋2位啊嘛。因為我聽緊歌，我聽到佢把聲，我只會聽到口型仔咁樣。
Wow.
Yeah.
Same joke, 2 languages, but it's different, right? The subtlety
It's a
is
different way that you
Little
deliver it.
comments.
Yeah, the subtlety. Yeah. That's why I tell people it's not direct translation. I can't do like line for line, but I have to know like the way someone in Cantonese would draw a picture versus someone in English draws a picture. So that's the really challenge. But like I said, I do my comedy like I'm telling a friend. So I just happen to have a friend who speaks in Cantonese, and I happen to have a friend who speaks in English, and I just try to deliver it in that sense. But it's fun for me. I mean, I've actually had shows. I went to Kuala Lumpur, and we would have back-to-back shows, like an English show followed by a Cantonese show, and you would actually see people who don't understand Cantonese but want to watch the show in Cantonese just to be like, I recognize that bit. I know what he's talking about, but I don't know what he's saying. But I know that rhythm and that tone and that gesture is this bit that he did earlier on in the previous show.
Wow.
That's so funny that they come to both and try and gauge the punchline and kind of that's really fun. I heard that about kids. So kids, when they're really young, they don't actually understand knock jokes. Like knock, who's there, Doctor Who what. They don't actually get the jokes. They don't know who Doctor Who is, or they don't know the punchline at all. They just don't get it. But they understand that it's a joke. So they understand it.
Yes.
So right at the end, they have to laugh, and they just crack up laughing, even though they don't actually get what the joke is. So I guess it's the same thing that people watching you in Cantonese, having just seen you in English, they're understanding the rhythm of it. They're understanding there's a setup and there's a punchline, and they want to see how that works in a different language and how the rhythm of that works. That's really cool.
Exactly. And it's in something, if I told you on paper, you'd be like, no, why would I go watch you in a different language? I've heard the joke in my language. But I'm like, just come and experience it. And you'll be like, oh, I see how this is different. It's like I tell people that you cannot explain a roller coaster. You have to take the roller coaster, try it out, and be like, oh, I feel it now. I get what you're talking about. You know. So these small, I tell people, come to a live show, you'll see what I'm talking about, and then you can decide if it's good or not.
And Vivek, you don't memorize your script? Is it a script that you follow?
It's not word for word. Like, I don't type out the whole script word for word and kind of go like, okay, I say this and I say that, but I do it in bullet form. You know, so bullet points, so I can kind of easier to remember for myself. Because first of all, I have terrible memory. So if I do word for word, I'll be so nervous of like, I forgot that word. Oh no, this sentence doesn't make sense. Was that a comma or a full stop? So I'll be really nerved about that. But if it's just in bullet points, I'm like, oh, okay, this happened and this happened. And usually I try to remember it in pictures. So that way I can see the scene and all I'm doing is describing the scene. Because like I said, I'm trying to tell it like I'm telling to a friend. And when you talk to your friends, you're kind of just recalling certain imagery that happened to you and you just want to tell them how you felt. And that's the idea really, is that just basically point by point, okay, the police saw me, I saw them, they were talking, I couldn't hear what they were saying. So I just tried to lip read and I understood what they were saying. So there you go. That would be the bullets I would write down.
Amazing.
Ah, funny.
Amazing.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool. Now, Vivek, your current studio setup, I see you've got nice lighting, you've got decent microphone, they look like expensive earphones, very professional, very immaculate. But, you know, on this show, we love to peel back the layers. We like to look behind the scenes. Is there an area of your place that you're vaguely embarrassed about that visitors never get to see?
Absolutely. Like, I believe everybody, the better someone showcases something to you, the more they have something embarrassed that they're hiding, right? It's always the case. Because no one has a clean desk unless they have a dirty pit somewhere. Okay, nobody.
That's true. That's so true.
That's what I mean. Like, so let me. Like, I tell you what. I have my other camera ready, and I can show you guys what I show the world is my workspace. All right. So if we switch over to my
Let's
other
see the
camera.
before. Yeah.
All right. So this is actually, okay, let's get this over here. I'm waiting for you guys to put me onto the live video footage because my camera over here is still backstage, and I'm going to keep showing you guys the beautiful desktop that I like to tell people, oh, this is my workspace casually. Like, oh yeah, this is where the ideas come. I mean, it just naturally stays this clean. All right.
Christian.
So I just want to make sure that we got to switch over to the There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
Thanks,
this.
Christian.
Yeah.
So this is basically my little techie. Right, this is basically what I'm a dual monitor, right? Because like with the web design days kicked in, so this is where I have my dual monitors and stuff. I have my little light, and I'm a big Joker fan, so I have this one over here, and this is my other favorite Joker comic book, The Killing Joke. Anyway,
why.
Exactly. Wait, connect the dots. That makes sense. Yeah. So I'll tell you that. So basically, this is where I work. Another Joker toy again. I'm a big toy fan. Right? So this is the. Oh wow! This is so cool. Oh, I wish my desk was like him. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Like
this is like. See, this is basically one of these vocal processors that when I, for example, if let's say no one wants to talk to me and I need to have a conversation,
I just talk to myself like this.
and then hey, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty all right. How are you?
Hey, that was a great show.
Oh, really? I think so too.
Oh, you get the too kind. You're too kind.
So getting that.
Right? And then so this is and then this is of course what I'm telling you guys. So I have a little teleprompter so this way because I'm a big person on like eye contact. I always tell people the biggest thing when you do any shows or performances is to kind of have eye contact. So this way I can look into the camera while I'm talking to you guys and I can still see your faces. So if you see closely,
Oh,
that's what I'm seeing.
that's
Right?
us.
And of course, I'm not bright enough, so I have a little light, right? Okay, now that's the hey everyone, this is the life of that techie comedian, inspiration, so cool lifestyle thing. But the truth is, the embarrassed area is always somewhere where no one wants to look, and I don't let people look. Is basically down here underneath my bed, so you've got like all the junk. I've got
Oh man.
the rusted microphone from all the years of my spit. And
Gross.
unfortunately, like, yeah, right.
And you're
it's-
still
oh.
keeping it for
Yes, and it's
posterity.
still
It's
there
an
under the
SM58.
thing.
I'm like, what if one day I need two mics? You know, what if I have someone who needs to talk as well? Right. So that's the junk I have. The books I borrowed from the library, but have never had time to read yet. But I have the feeling of like one day, right? And then I have all this junk. This is the ultimate
Oh.
OCD killer with all the wires. Yeah, this drives me nuts, which is why I have to
Yeah.
hide it.
Cables.
That's
cables,
full of
and
cables?
cables and
Oh.
cables.
Yeah. This is all cable. I have to like. This is why this cable management is the one that I cannot deal with. So I'm like, you know what? Just don't let me see it. I don't care.
Yeah,
So
I
these
got
are- and of
OCD.
course,
That would drive me
when-
nuts. Ugh.
I know, right? So you see this cable management, beautiful. This is where I see every day. This is what I don't see. It's like, yep, don't care. Doesn't matter. You don't exist to me. So yeah, so that's basically it. And of course, like whenever I do these kind of virtual things, the fact that you see, wow, this guy's, nice hair. I mean, clean shave and all that stuff. T-shirt looking good. But of course, wearing shorts and slippers. Right? No one needs to know that. Golf shorts.
Now
Terrible
everybody
golf
does.
shorts that someone. Yeah,
Hugh
right.
Hefner.
Exactly. So yeah, that's basically the embarrassed world that I'm like, oh god, don't let people know this is how it works. And this is the yes, as a comedian, I'm very organized. I like to get my ideas in place. Yeah, so that's the that's the presentation
brilliant.
side.
Yeah.
What a great tour.
Love
Love,
it.
love that tour.
Love
Love
it.
that tour. I want.
Yeah.
If I need a cable, I know who to reach out to. Vivek,
Exactly.
I need this old
The-
cable.
The odd one out.
It's
The
somewhere
odd
there,
one
you'll
out
find it.
tour.
Yeah, the odd one out
Yeah.
tour. Well, thank you for that snoop around, Vivek. We are going
Sure.
to continue prying though, because we're just nosy that way.
Let's do it.
So, could you pick up two items that mean something to you? Two items,
All right,
either
so
from your
actually,
work or travels.
So actually, these items actually stay on my desk. The first one I'll show you guys. If you, okay, I'll just pick it up from here. Alright. The first one is a watch. Oh, there we go. Are we doing this? Okay, so
Oh, sure.
okay, so let me show you guys. These are a bunch of watches that I have, right?
Watches?
Two watches. Yeah, watches. So these are like
Okay.
my G-Shock watches. So this is why. Let me explain to you why I have so many. Oh, did I just turn off? Oh, I'm back.
No,
Okay.
it's okay. Yeah.
No, you're
I
back.
did
You're
it.
back.
Yeah, let's stay with you.
So let me explain to you guys like
Yeah.
how this works, right? So this watch over here, this G-Shock watch, has a special function, which is it can vibrate. All right. So there's a timer and it can vibrate. And what I did is that I've had this watch for around 10 years now. It's like all broken up and everything. But this one helps me time my sets. So when I'm on stage performing and I have, let's say, a 10-minute slot, in comedy, we go with time. So if you have 10 minutes, you better be done in 10 minutes, right? Don't go too much
Right.
over, don't go
Yeah.
too much under. So this
Yeah.
will basically buzz me. Like when I have 2 minutes left in my hand, so I kind of can feel, I have 2 minutes to go. And then at the 10-minute mark, it'll kind of go, just keep buzzing. And I'm like, okay, I better wrap it up and close this off. So at private events or comedy clubs, this thing would be on my wrist to basically keep me with the time. So I don't have to worry that, how much time do I have left? Oh my goodness, I'm running over, I'm running under. So I can keep track of what I'm doing. And I basically, this watch over here started going bad, right? So I was like freaking out because I have some gigs and I'm like, this is not vibrating anymore. I'm losing my mind. I have to have a vibrating watch. So I go and get the newer edition of the watch that vibrates. And I'm like, but what if this doesn't work? Oh my God, I better have a backup. So now I have a backup of this watch.
You wear
You
two
understand?
watches?
You wear two watches.
No, this is in case like one day I wake up and this is running out of battery, so it doesn't vibrate.
okay.
And bam, I'm ready to go. Yeah, but no, the two watches idea, I have thought about it, but then I was like, people will see it in my hand, so I'll just keep to one.
Right.
So I have a
Got
backup
it.
in case this dies on the day of a show. So that's how I work. That's the first thing that definitely wherever I go, you will always see me with a digital watch that can vibrate. That's key for my life in general.
Is that
So
what
that's
other
one thing.
comedians? Is that what other comedians do? I've always wondered.
It's just, I mean, it's just one of these things that, like, I don't know. Timing has always been a big deal for me. I'm always running late.
Right.
Okay, that's the first item. Then the
Yeah.
second item actually is something that I basically hold dearly is like all my comedy notes. For example, like I have a little notebook over here. Okay, let me explain to you, everybody. When I first started comedy, I had no budget, so I'd get the really cheap, a few dollar notepads and write my jokes in it. And then I would just, any random stupid idea, write it down, whatever. Hey, who cares? It's just paper, it's just pen, right? And then I was just writing stuff, and it wasn't, good quality material. And I came across this brand called Moleskine. right? Moleskine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Moleskine are extremely expensive notebooks.
They
And
are.
they cost 100 Hong Kong dollars for one of these sheets of paper thing, right? And what I told myself is I'm going to buy one of these. Okay, not because Da Vinci and all these people use it, but I was like, every page over here costs me a lot of money. So everything I write here better be gold. Otherwise, that's a waste of my cash. Right? So that became a new challenge. Like, can I write good stuff? When I sit down to write, I don't want to just randomly write whatever rubbish. I'm going to sit and focus because every page is expensive over here. So this was actually one of my key things that I would have. I would have a notepad. And in my notes for comedy, if I can show you guys close over here, can you see? I'll put it up here. Can you see? Hold on.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
your notes.
Wow,
your notes,
color
yeah.
Nice
coded.
handwriting.
The color, yeah. So actually, I write all my notes in multicolors. The reason is because when I'm writing and I write a paragraph or write a sentence and I like that point, I switch to another color to give my brain like a 1 second buffer time to kind of like change pens, continue writing on. So there's a little moment for me to digest what I just said. Kind of like giving myself like a little, okay, continue talking, talk, like that. So it's one of these weird things. So this is actually one of my favorite notepads that I have where I just write all the time regularly. And I just basically keep doing it. And that's how all these ideas that I have start. And I have a bunch of these that have been lasting from years ago.
And how do you look back? So when it's time to write a comedy set, for example, you end up lining up like your last 5 notebooks and you take notes and then you write on a computer after that, or?
So what I do is, okay, let me just put the light away so I can show you guys the notes a bit better, right? So if you see this over here, you will see if I put it closely, you see I have some highlighted words.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll actually basically write my notes the first time in just multicolor. I leave it. I come back tomorrow. I reread what I wrote yesterday, highlight the few items I kind of find interesting and I think there's potential to it. And then I take those out and then I generate more ideas. So I'm building branches off those few, like 5 key points I liked from yesterday. And I write a whole bunch of stuff about those 5 key
on
points.
Another
and I keep
notebook.
kind of, dissecting it on another page. So I'll have the next page, I'll just keep writing. So then I keep developing. So for example, one of the recent ones I wrote was actually about taking the minibus here in Hong Kong, and it's a bizarre experience because like there's these signs on the minibus. So the minibus is like a 16-seater little kind of small van, right? And there's signs that say, buckle up for your safety, otherwise you have to face imprisonment and fines and everything. And here in Hong Kong, like we said, we don't follow. If you tell me to do it, I won't do it. We only do it when it's peer pressure. Right? When everyone else is doing it, like, I better do it. I mean, they're doing it. Do they not trust the driver? I don't know. I don't know about this driver. So that's how we do it. So I was writing that down and turned it into a bit, which I did like on another show the other night. And people were like, oh yeah, that's what I do as well. So a lot of these small things you keep developing. That's basically the 2 things that I have. The comedy essentials I tell people that have been with me from day one. Notebook and also my watch.
Nice.
How quickly do you go through a notebook? I mean, you seem to be writing a lot.
Quickly. I would write like, let's say, each page takes me around 10 minutes to write. So if I work on, let's say, an hour a day, that's like 6 pages gone already. So this will be done within like 2 months time. I'm out.
Wow. That's why Moleskine is such a big company now.
Yeah, thanks to me.
You're buying all the
Sponsorship,
notebooks.
anybody? Yeah, I know, right?
Slip that in there. This is the perfect platform for you.
Yeah.
So do you
Just saying, I
have,
would.
do you have a Cantonese version too, or everything's in English and then you just put the process out and
So
do
I
it
write-
in Cantonese? Yeah.
So I actually write it out mostly in English, but when I do actually am writing a Cantonese set, I will actually write it in Chinglish. So for example, let's say I talk about, like I would actually write it in the English words, but actually it's like Chinese words in my head. Like for example, I would say, walk down street, see police, and police look my face. 睇我見到我個樣, they see my face,
Right. Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I would write it in that kind of Chinglish where I'm like, I know what I'm trying to say over here. So I know how to switch it into Cantonese for myself. Yeah.
Wow, what a process.
What
I
a process.
find that so fascinating. And the fact that you really thought about it and the little tiny things like switching to a better notebook because it changes your mindset towards it. And then the pen, the color pen, because it gives you a break and it makes you switch and it makes you absorb and it forces you to do that because you're actually switching pens. That's so, I mean, it just takes time and practice. You have to think about these things, right? You have to think about how to refine your process.
Exactly. And that's what I tell people is that it's one of the fun parts of the journey is not just getting that comedy bit, but like, how do I keep refining my process? For example, I actually lost one of these notepads and I decided, let me just go digital. I don't trust this anymore. So I'm just going to go digital, type everything up. And somehow it just wasn't clicking, you know, like I'm typing this, I'm like, it's not fun, I'm not getting the ideas, it just feels so flat. And I realized, well, the problem is that when I'm writing, the way I write, it takes some time to write the words, you know, the way I write the characters, you know, the force I use, the speed I use, all that affects my thinking process versus just typing, you know, and autocorrect. I'm like, whatever. So I realized that, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go back to paper. Sorry, tree.
No, I agree with you. Obviously, I don't write any comedy shows and everything else. But what I do is I make a list every day, like my to-do list and things to do. And I find that I have to write it down. Even though it's not something so elaborate, when I type it, it's so different. But you're right. It's just, maybe it's the process of writing it down. And then I like to mark it off as well. To go at the end of the day. Yeah.
I am huge on to-do lists, man. Like since my web design days, man, I was a big fan of, I don't know if you heard of this process called GTD, getting things done.
Yeah.
And basically it's the whole I'm big, like GTD has changed my life, right? And so I'm big on the to-do list as well. Like if it's not in my, so this is what I tell people, it's very simple. If I'm having a talk with you, right? And let's say, hey, Viv, you should check this out. It's very easy to know if I'm going to check it out. If I don't stop everything I'm doing and I put it in my to-do list, I'm not going to do it. I can tell you now.
Yeah.
You know, so if it's not on my list, I don't do it. So that's how I work, because it drives me nuts when I'm like, oh, what do I have to do? I there's something, I would lose my mind. So yeah, to-do list, and I love the feeling of ticking stuff off is the best. That's why you know how bad I am, my to-do list, just to kickstart the momentum in the mornings. Brush teeth is on my to-do list.
No, you just said
I do that. It's not brush teeth, but I'll have things like do laundry. Yeah, so on the weekends, because you know, I have trouble getting going on the weekends. So yeah, same thing. I'll have do laundry, have breakfast. I wouldn't put brush teeth. I wouldn't put go wee wee. But I would put, I would totally put do laundry. I'll totally put have breakfast. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Now, Ange, absolutely. Start to-do list. The start of the to-do list.
It's just start to-do list. Tick to-do list. Tick this item. Yeah.
Okay. That's me all over. I relate. I relate.
People. This is the right three people in the world to talk about to-do lists.
Exactly, man. Self-employed people, I'm sure everyone does this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, thank you so much for sharing with us your story about your vibrating watch, the Moleskine pad, your process. And of course, we know that you're a multi-talented stand-up comedian, MC, even an MMA announcer. But you know, on this show, we don't really care about those tangible skills. What we care about is if you have a pointless skill. I mean, if you have, please share with us, or even better, show us if you have a pointless skill.
And that is exactly why
I have these stupid sound effects. You must understand.
I can't sing, but I have sound effects. And that's why I do this. So actually, one of my pointless skills is actually during Zoom meetings or any kind of online thing, when basically I'm in an awkward position, I just throw in the sound effects and I'm like, guys, I can make this whole meeting so much more fun. And now, like, I'm serious. Like, I will have, like, every now and then, if I say something and no one's laughing, I'm like,
yay! I won that.
Right?
Brilliant.
So I have all these pointless things, and I spent a lot of time investigating, like, how do I connect this to that? How do I put this into that? Can I loop this in? You know, how do I get sound effects? And I've got it all interconnected now, and I'm like, what was the point of that? People don't care. Like, they just want to have a meeting with me. I do not need to be like, hey, I'm out. I'll see you at the show. Right? They don't need that. It's unnecessary.
It adds to it. That's the best.
Exactly.
I'm setting a Zoom meeting. I'm setting a Zoom meeting with him.
Yeah.
I need to experience that.
Gotta make sure it's in his to-do list. If not, it's not gonna happen.
Exactly. Let me type it in right now. Otherwise, that will never happen.
Yes.
One of my pointless skills, honestly, is sound effects, and I'm crazy obsessed about like sound effects and looping and stuff like that. It's pathetic.
So instead of pointless skill, we have pointless sound effects. Wow, that's a new one for us.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to switch topics a little bit now, Vivek, and we want to focus on your family. We're going to connect the dots from your childhood and what brought you here. So what was your family like? What are the big life lessons you've learned from them?
So basically, I'm technically third generation here in Hong Kong. My grandfather came to Hong Kong for business. You know, they made some money. They're like, hey, this place works. Let's stay here and just settle down. So growing up over here in Hong Kong was very interesting because I'm Indian, but my family was kind of mixed Indian and Western mindset. So it was really weird because like from the get-go, they were willing to go into territory that most of the majority of our community didn't want to go to. For example, sending their kids to a Chinese school. It was unheard of in the 80s. Like, why would you do that? You know, everyone goes to these schools and it's fine. We don't need to learn Cantonese. Everyone speaks English here. But my family, they kind of felt like if you live in a place, you need to learn the local language. And the best way maybe to them was to go to a Chinese school. Now, when I think back, I'm like, no, the best way would have if you parents learned Cantonese and taught us. But they were like, no, we're not doing the work for free, right? You go learn it and translate for us. I'm like, oh, all right.
That's why we have children for.
Exactly, right? We think it's for the love and passion. We don't care about that. We need someone to do the laundry eventually, right? So that was one thing, and so they were willing to go against the norm. And there were a lot of challenges, for example, the community kind of looking at us differently, or like because I went to a different school, so a lot of birthday parties didn't involve us. You know, their kids weren't friends with me, so you know they would not invite me to the birthday party. So there was a lot of times when it was awkward. You know, the community would kind of see that, oh, this family over here, you know, they're a different family. They don't hang out with our community. But my family felt, well, it's irrelevant. I don't need to follow the norm to be part of community or part of life. Like, we believe what we're doing and this is what we're doing. And I remember when I was in primary 2 learning Cantonese, I couldn't keep up. It was really difficult, and I came second last in the whole year. And as I joke, I tell people, like, I came second last in a school of all Chinese kids, which means someone's Cantonese was worse than mine. Wow. What did you do?
Kid. Yeah.
Right? Like, I got 0. How'd you get -1 in a test? Like, what did you do today? Right? So, I remember precisely, like, my mom was really worried because there was no reference point. There was no, like, oh, how did they do it? How did they? This was like just, you know, all new territory. And they were worried, did we do something wrong? Is this not possible? Does it just not work? But they were adamant. They were like, no, it cannot be that, you know, his DNA just cannot absorb Cantonese. There must be some reason. So their willingness to keep trying and figuring it out and never immediately blaming the system and saying, oh, it's unfair, it's discrimination, oh, you know, Cantonese is the language. But like, okay, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I learned is that when you deal with an issue that's not working out, instead of immediately jumping and blaming all the other elements around it, kind of say, like, what can I do to adjust, to maybe work around this? It may not work, but you keep trying. So primary 1, I couldn't keep up. Primary 2, I couldn't keep up. By primary 3, they figured out what the issue was, that when I leave school, my environment has no more Cantonese. Whereas all my other classmates go home and everyone's speaking Cantonese, TV's in Chinese, you know, signs are in Chinese. And they were like, oh, so we lack the environment. So then they would send me to tutorial centers every day after school for 3 hours just to be in the environment, you know, around people speaking Cantonese. Any homework I'm unfamiliar with, I can ask someone there who knows Chinese as well. And that was the turning point. And bam, within a year's time, I was like fluent already. So that mentality, number 1, had a really big influence on me of like, you know, it's not always the situation's fault. Like, what can you do? Like, learn to be flexible and kind of go with the, mold yourself in a different way to fit this situation. And that in many ways for a lot of business people, you realize that's the flexibility and agility of doing any sort of business. Like, COVID has taught us something perfect for that. I could sit here all day and just say, oh, when's the live show is going to start? Or I could say, hey, how can I turn my shows into a virtual environment and make something new of it? Right, so that's the mentality that I picked up. And another thing as well is that my mom was a teacher as well, and she's the type of person that doesn't like to shout at you and force you, but tries to find ways to make you want to do the thing it is. Right? So learning Cantonese, you know, when I was young, is like, oh, I don't want to learn this and stuff, and she would take me to a park and go, let me see all these other kids playing, right? And she'll say, hey, go play with them. And I'm like, oh, I don't know how to speak in Canton. I don't know how to talk to them. She said, well, you want to go play with them? Yeah, I do. Well, then learn Cantonese. Good point. I'm going to learn some Cantonese, right? So now the motivations change. I'm going to learn Cantonese not for the exam, but to actually go play with these kids. And very smart of her, but now I'm like, that was so cunning. Oh, look at you, man. What else have you conned me into doing, right? Making it seem like I want to do it, right? Don't you like clean dishes? I do. Well, clean them. Like,
so I'm like, it's your favorite.
Yeah, exactly. Just go kill the cauliflower. I'm going to kill this cauliflower. I'm going to kill that broccoli as well. You know? So she gets you on that one. So a lot of these things, you know. So I think these small things really had an impact indirectly for me, where I didn't realize it, but I think it just shifted my mentality. And lastly, I mean, the one thing I really have to say is that a lot of what I'm doing today is thanks to my parents being open-minded about it. Like when I graduated from university, we had a talk and they said, look, you can do whatever you want as long as you promise us that you will give it your best shot. Like if you can prove to us that this is your best effort, then it's fine. Okay. So after university, I was actually a freelance web designer working on my own. And, you know, as a freelancer, you could sit there all day and just wait, right? And just be like, oh, no work. I'm so bored. But they were seeing that I was actually sitting there. If I'm not working on a project, I'm maybe reading a book, trying to learn a new skill, you know, trying to develop stuff or trying to see how I can network with other people. And they could see. And every month I would kind of tell them what I'm doing, giving them an update. They're like, okay, this guy's, you know, really properly learning and trying to work on this. So let him do what he's trying to do. So they kind of had that mentality of like, look, just do what you need to do, but not just whatever, but like have a proper plan and prove to us that this will work. And then we'll continue supporting you on that. So yeah, those few aspects really had a big impact, which is why when I talk to a lot of parents, I'm like, you know, don't think that, you know, I was just talented or whatever. It's a lot of the environment as well. If you can give it an encouraging environment to say, look, I'm not telling you to do whatever, but I'm telling you to whatever you want to do, be sure, think about it, work on it, and be the best version of it. You cannot be the best, but be the best version that you can be. That was essential.
Oh, that's lovely. So is it fair to say that when you told them, especially your mom, that you were going to become a stand-up comedian, was she also very supportive?
So when I wanted to be a stand-up comedian, actually it was kind of like a side hobby. Hey, look at that. Hey. Yeah. Yeah, so...
Oh, we lost you there.
We lost you.
We lost your sound.
Yeah.
We lost your audio.
Yeah.
It's mom's doing.
He got so excited. He brought
Yeah,
out his
she's like-
cable. It's cable
Yeah.
management, dude.
It's cable
Cable.
management. Vivek's cable. It's
There's a cable down there somewhere that will do a better
Yeah,
job.
it's that one cable under the bed that he accidentally
it's-
pulled out.
It's
It's-
just
it's
looped
doing-
into other cables.
it's doing his head in. It's going to be on his to-do list today. Fix cable. Hey!
Oh, nice.
Oh, hey, we get to do the interview in sound effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like doing an interview in emojis, right? You do it in sound
Yeah.
effects.
Yeah, so Vivek, how do you feel?
Only answers and sound effects.
So Vivek is just stressing you out.
Vivek needs to. It's like the watch, right? You need that spare watch with the batteries that charge. No, dude, we can't hear you, man.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
back.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. The sound effects thing is messed up. Ah!
Oh,
Okay, it doesn't matter. The show must go on.
Yeah.
hang on, you're feeding back, are you?
Oh, am I?
Yeah, it's quite.
Yeah,
Hold
you're
on.
feeding back.
It's a bit loud.
Sorry. No, why?
We're just
Yeah.
deafened.
Yeah, it's still feedback and it's still loud.
I love this.
I love that we're live.
This is
We're
live
live.
tech
We're
check,
live.
guys. Live tech check.
Mom comes in and goes. "Doosh."
Yeah.
You know, sometimes like the high tech and all the cables, like the other day I had to do it from the office. I had to do the Dear Future Grandkids from the office, and I didn't bring anything. I didn't bring any of my setup or anything because I knew that I would just miss that one cable and there was just no point and I'll stress myself out. So I just did it completely as it was, just headphones, just the computer laptop, didn't prop anything up. I'm like, sometimes it's just the best thing because I knew I'd stress myself out trying to get it all set up.
Ladies and gentlemen, is this working? Can I hear myself yet? Oh, what's going on?
Hey!
Is it anime?
He's back.
What a
Yeah,
pro.
Ah,
What a
the
pro.
world is not my friend. All right. Okay, so this is cool. I'm good. I'm back. Let's continue on the story. Woo! All right, no chorus. Sorry, I was like,
There you
no
go.
chorus sound effect over there. There we
Yeah,
go.
there you go.
What
Okay.
happened there, man? What
So, yeah.
happened? Did you...
So
Cable?
apparently, I either I didn't pay my electricity bills, or else basically my little vocal processor was like, I've heard enough of this guy. I'm just shutting down myself. I can't take this. His voice is terrible.
He wants to take the limelight. The processor must be involved.
Exactly. He was like, enough, man. Basically, in other words, it literally was just like, I mean, this is why I have sound effects. This is actually why. It was actually like, okay, all right.
Yeah, okay.
Enough of my sound effects. So coming back to what we were talking about. So me and my mom, and
Yeah.
the funny thing is that, like I said, it's that relationship, and I tell a lot of parents as well. It's really crucial. Like a lot of time, what your kids are doing, it sounds so stupid and silly, but give them a chance, and you will be shocked about it. Sometimes they're so into it that you're like, oh, this actually is going to work. So when I told her I want to be a comedian, she was like, okay, you're doing your web design thing. It's cool. So you have that on the side and do your comedy show. Okay, whatever, So this is just a fun thing. Because I used to be in a band as well. And I told her, I'm like, the band, clearly, I'm not going places with that one. That's purely for fun. She's like, okay, so I have a hobby. I don't really care. So comedy was more like a hobby in the beginning. So she didn't really mind it. And eventually it was developing. She would come to a show. I would tell her, hey, I got this gig over there. I would tell her, this is happening. These people booked me. And it would just grow. So the fun part is actually, because I live with my mom, right? So she actually gets to see the behind the scenes before the shows. For example, let's say I have a gig in the afternoon. She gets to see the part of me trying to pack my bag with the clothes before that, writing my set list, trying to get everything ready, going for the shower, shaving, coming up, and like, okay, I need this, I need lunch, I need lunch at 12 o'clock because I got to leave at 1 o'clock, I got to take that, okay, I got to make sure I have that ready. So all these kind of small things, and she gets to see the behind the scenes chaos, and she's cool with it. She's like, that's the process, that's how it works. So that's why she's been really okay about it. She's been supportive, and like I said, she's the one person that always will get a free ticket to my show. Whatever show it is, whatever I have to do to get you a ticket, you will get that ticket if you want to come. But she's like, no, I hear you enough at home. I don't need to listen to you in front of the audience. I'm like, okay, that's not the support I'm looking for, but okay.
Well,
So
Vivek,
funny.
well, there's a point in the show where we ask people to take out their phones. So we need you to take out your phone, and we need you to leave a voice message to someone important in your life. Now, we're just nosy. We just want to hear the message. We want to speculate whom you're sending the message to, but you don't have to tell us.
All right, no problem. So you want me to do this on my phone right now, live in front of you guys like that?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Because we like eavesdropping.
Okay, cool. All right, no problem. So you'll be eavesdropping. I'll disconnect from that one, and I'll get the recorder out. Okay, so mic is for you guys to listen. Phone messages for the person to enjoy as well. I will do this real soon.
Yeah.
Okay, having said that, let's do this. All right, so Ma, a lot of times that I've done all these stupid things, basically the idea is that you've always been there and just like laughed about it. You didn't mind about it. And the best part is that no matter how good or bad the gig went, I will still come home and I'll still see you and you will still ask me how did it go. And if I just say it was okay, you would actually say just okay, and you would kind of make me say no, it was good, it was a good gig, and you would actually make sure that I twisted my mind and say no, it was still a good gig, and that made every gig fantastic.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
Every time, man, I'll come back. I'm like, yeah, it was all right. She's like, no, it was just all right. I'm like, no, it was a good gig. It was really good. She's like, there we go.
That is so lovely. So supportive, so lovely.
I'm putting that in my to-do list for parenting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Encourage your kid to believe in a better world than he thinks he's in. Like, no, the show was average. Is it just average? No, it's really good. Wow.
No, seriously, I like
No,
that.
it's very good. Like, I know when I come home, no matter how bad or whatever happened during the day, I can come home and there's always a smile waiting, and that to me is like worth everything.
Yeah, because sometimes you could be hard. Sometimes you could be hard on yourself, right? I mean, actually, the gig was actually quite good, but you're just so hard on yourself, thinking, oh, it was not. So it's really nice to be reassured.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, and also it puts everything in perspective. The truth is, a gig is a gig. You entertain, you don't entertain. People laugh, they don't laugh. But life goes on. And at the end of the day, I always tell myself, comedy was 10 years ago when I first started. I would have never imagined I'd be where I'm at, right? And to me, just even getting paid for a gig was like, oh my God, this is wow, right? Today, I'll do a gig, I get paid, and it was an average gig. I'm like, oh well, sometimes you can't win every battle. I'm like, wait, hold on. 10 years ago, I would have lost my mind if I got to do this. How am I today kind of going like, well, you can't win every battle. It's like, wait, put it back into perspective. You're doing this. Do you understand what you're doing? Do you know how insane this is? That if you told yourself, 10 years ago that I'll be doing this, you're like, no way. So that's the thing. Like, my mom keeps putting back in perspective, like, no, you're doing what you want to do, right? This is a great thing. You get to do comedy. So why are you not enjoying this? I'm like, yeah, you're right. You know what? It was a great gig. I was so glad I could do that.
Nice.
That's so cool.
So
yeah,
10 years of doing comedy, what's been the biggest challenge you faced so far in being a stand-up comedian?
I mean, honestly, till today, people are still asking you, is this what you still do? Is this your full time? Can you make a living off of it? And I tell people it's all relative. If I want to live out, in a mansion with a helicopter, no, comedy is not enough for that kind of lifestyle. Yeah. But if I just want to live in a comfortable life where things are simple and I get to play with my voice with vocal processes when they actually work, then yeah, comedy is sufficient for that. Right. So I think it's that, number one. And number two, the hardest part really is to keep improving and challenging yourself. It's very easy to get complacent. The truth is I could do the same bit for 10 years and it will still fly. It will still be fine. I can still be at that level where people are laughing. But the game is, can I keep making myself laugh? Can I keep making the people who are really comedy lovers laugh? Because if, like, for example, 10 years ago, doing jokes about, Asian accents was still a thing. Hey, I talk like this. My friend, they are Chinese, I could do that and it's still funny. Not to say it's not funny. You still get the laugh. But in today's world, if you're still stuck on that, that's like, come on, we're still doing that, right? It's kind of like saying you're still doing the black people versus white people. I'm like, yes, it's still funny, but that was a long time ago. So let's move on with life. And I think that's the challenge. Like, can I keep evolving as a comedian? So instead of me still doing that shtick of like, hey, I'm Indian and I speak Cantonese, can I talk about just life in general? All the weird things that we do, the small nuances, like, as a comedian, I walk around town and this is how I think. Like, one of my jokes I tell people and they say, oh, how are you so optimistic all the time? I'm like, I'm not optimistic. My brain just doesn't seem to acknowledge, rude things or discrimination. Like, for example, I was walking down the street. This guy's like, go back to India. And my brain doesn't take that as discrimination. My brain is going like, you want to encourage me to travel during COVID? Like, what's wrong with you? Are you nuts? Like, why would you do that? Do you not know how 21-day quarantine in India? You are, oh, come on, that's a dangerous place at the moment. Maybe let things calm down. My brain is thinking that. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh, you meant because I'm Indian to get out of Hong Kong. Oh, I overthought this again. I'm so sorry. So that's what I'm actually doing. I'm not jumping to the obvious. So I think that's what also I have to learn to evolve as well. And that's what I tell people. Like, the hardest part really is to understand the process is not I'm an optimistic guy and every day is greater than the next day, or my life is funnier than yours. It's more like how do I just keep seeing the world and keep evolving my mindset about it? Shifting my mind to basically saying, no matter how bad situations are, there's something to joke about. And can I find that joke for everyone to enjoy?
Nice. So then, what gets you going in the morning? Start of the day, what gets you going in the morning?
Usually, when I'm excited about the days, that's the day when I get to do what I want to do. For example, today I get to read my books and watch this video about the new skill I want to learn. That gets me excited. But what gets me excited is having like a proper structural day. So I actually plan my day the night before. So before I sleep, I actually schedule my whole next day. So I know at 9 a.m. I wake up, 9:10 I brush my teeth, 9:15 I'm sitting eating breakfast.
Wow.
By 9:28 I'm going to need to go to the toilet. Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm like, clockwork. The reason for that is because like it keeps me on track. So today, all I care about is following that list. I don't have to be like, oh, what do I have to do now? What should I do now? No, it says go to toilet. Okay, I'm going to the toilet now. And then it just works. So that gets me excited when I have a proper structured day. What freaks me out is when it's a lot of unknowns. For example, I have to go for a meeting and I have to meet this person, and then will that person be on time? What if they're late? There's a lot of those factors that worry me. So yeah, gets me excited is having a day ahead of me with a proper plan. I'm like, okay, let's do this. I'm going to be ready at 8 o'clock to be funny on stage. I have all these things to get done. Let's make it happen. Mission impossible. Music is in the background. Let's rock and roll. Let's do it. And I get up in the day.
Wow. Well, Vivek, it sounds like you've got everything under control and you're really gung-ho for everything in life. But is there anything that you're afraid to do?
A lot. Like I'm afraid of making reservation calls. Like I hate like calling the waiter and ordering food. I'm like, I don't want to be the one. Can you girlfriend? Can you talk? That's my job now. I hate it. Like I really hate asking for. I'm the typical like I don't ask for directions. I would rather walk around town for 20 minutes and be like, excuse me, how do I? Is this the entrance? I can't do it. Like I have a whole joke about this where I can do 1 on 100. Like for example, one person talking to 100 people, no problem. But 1-on-1, oh man, that freaks me out. Like I would never go up, to a person at a bar or whatever. I won't be like, hey, hello, hey. I cannot do that. I just freak out. That's why anything like, making phone call reservations, having to go, deal with a bank teller, I can't. I need everything automated. Like, can I use a machine? I don't want to talk to a person. I need something, one-on-one. Give me a whole team. Can I talk to your whole team? So that freaks me out. And I think, honestly, the other thing that freaks me out really is just generally not being able to do what I want to do. Like, if you suddenly tell me that, hey, your life has changed, you're going to have to get like a job and sit here and just work at this, I'll be like, man, like, I can't. I need to have that me time. I need to have the time to just go crazy and just do all these silly ideas.
Man.
Someone once said, what's the definition of happiness? Everyone searches for happiness, right? It's one of these things in life, you search for happiness. And then someone said, has anyone actually defined what happiness means? And one person said they think their definition of happiness is when you wake up in the morning, you get to do what you do, right? And you just said it.
Yeah.
You just said that's what you like. That's what's important to you. It's
absolutely. Like,
cool.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I tell a lot of people, I like, have something that you want to do for yourself. Like, I read this book called The Art of the Start. I talked to a lot of people about this, and I want to share this to you today as well. Art of the Start by Guy Kiyosaki. He said one phrase that has such a strong impact on me. He said, make meaning, not money. And that has stuck with me, where the idea is not to go make money and not to like do something meaningful in society, but doing something meaningful to yourself. And that will keep you motivated. Like, comedy was meaningful to me. I enjoyed it. And therefore I was just motivated to keep working at it. And eventually it's so that you want to do it and someone else will admire what you're doing and want to support you. So a lot of people love comedy, but they just can't do it. But they're like, come on, Viv, you can do it. I will be at your show. I want to be there watching your show. I can't do it, but you're doing it for me. So there's a lot of that as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. You make meaning, not money, because people say they'll be happy when they have $1 million, or they'll be happy when they have a six-pack. But actually, that isn't the search for happiness, because we see so many people once they reach $1 million that they're not suddenly super happy. In fact, you hear all these stories where people aren't. So looking for meaning first, and hopefully the money will follow. Yeah, it's good.
Exactly.
And so, we think about the future grandkids is, we think about legacy and we think about life lived. How would you like to be remembered?
I just basically want to be remembered as the guy that went and did what he wanted to do, regardless of whether society liked it or not. In other words, I wasn't trying to cause harm or kind of be a rebel, but I was doing my thing. And I was the odd one out, and I was okay with being it. And I always tell people, I'm fine. If you don't like what I'm doing, that's cool. If you don't like my ethnicity, that's cool. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm doing what I'm doing, and it's for you to like or not like. That's your choice. So I want, if I were to be remembered by my family or grandkids or whatever, it's like, oh, Grandpa, he was the one who just did his own thing. He was like, yeah, you don't have to like it. I'm enjoying myself, and that's all that matters to me.
Amazing. Is there a piece of advice, do you think, that your 80-year-old future Vivek would give the Vivek of you today?
Yeah, I would just basically tell myself, stop doubting yourself. A lot of times people, like, it's very simple. A lot of times I go on stage and I want to try a new comedy bit, and I'm like at open mic thinking like, I don't know, man, people have expectations and stuff. And I would say, wait, hold on a second. Wait a second. It's an open mic. Number two, if I'm funny, they laugh. If I'm not funny, it's open mic. So it's okay. Just stop doubting yourself. Just go up there, try it out, whatever, it doesn't matter. So I think that's the key. Like, I still have a lot of self-doubt, as in like, oh, do people really want to hear what I want to say? Are they really here for the comedy? Are they want to hear that, So just doesn't matter. You're not that important. You're not that special. People just want to laugh, regardless of who you are. Just go up there, do your thing. They laugh. They don't laugh, whatever. You go home and your mom will say, was that a good show? I'm like, that was a great show.
Vivek, I mean, we're so happy that you spent time with us today creating this video time capsule. But unfortunately, we have to close the show. And as you close the lid to the time capsule, you get to leave one message. What do you want to say to your future grandkids?
All right. So first of all, hey, future grandkids, this is Vivek. Right. Hopefully I haven't had to change my name for any reasons because of that. But I want you guys to just remember something, that first of all, I did have hair on my head. So keep that in mind. I wasn't always bald by the time you saw me. And number two, I think the best thing I can tell you guys is that remember you're young once and do what you want to do. What you'll find is that if you don't do it today, you're going to have less time tomorrow. Like, I wish a lot of things that when I was younger, I'm like, oh, I don't want to learn the piano. I don't want to learn this. But now I'm like, I wish I learned the piano. Oh, I wish I did this as well. And instead of saying like, I don't want to do it, just give it a chance. And what I found is the best things in my life was giving something a chance. And that's why I gave you you guys have a life here, so you guys have a chance to enjoy living and basically doing something for yourself as well. And so that's what I have to say. Just remember me as the not always bald grandfather who was doing his own thing. And I hope you guys enjoyed. And hey, keep it cool. Have a great time with life. And yeah, hopefully you remember me for good things. And if not, then whatever. I was the guy that did all the weird sound effects.
Nice.
Nice. Vivek,
Great message.
Nice.
I've got my to-do list. First, I'll get a moleskin notebook, and then next, I will write down the stuff you said on the show because you're amazing. You're really inspiring.
Thank you. You're too kind.
The stuff you said is really inspiring.
No, thank you for having me. I love talking about this stuff.
Nah, and please,
Being fantastic. Such a
you've been
great
fantastic. Before we end the show, though, I'd like to give you the chance to tell viewers where to find you. Can you give us your socials or anywhere where they can watch you?
So real simple. If you attempt to type my full name in, let's say, search engine, don't try it. Just smash your keyboard, and it'll try to autocorrect it and be like, "Oh, did you mean Vivek Mahbubani?" That's number one. Otherwise, just simply go to funnyvivek.com. All right. So remember, I'm the funnyvivek.com. You see the Vivek over here, right? Right over here. So that's funnyvivek.com. On Facebook, just Funny Vivek with the letter M, because somebody took Funny Vivek. And on Instagram, just look for Funny Vivek.
Ooh, there's another Funny Vivek.
Who are you?
That Funny Vivek might not be too funny.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He's maybe one of the other funny ones. But yeah, so you go funnyvivek.com, and you can connect from there for everything. Show times, videos, photos, all my socials over there.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you very much for today, and thank you to all our lovely viewers. We have so many comments. I just couldn't read them all. But shout out to Elijah Canlas, who was our first guest. He's watching, and he loves moleskin too.
Hey!
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Elijah!
So thanks everyone for watching on YouTube and on Facebook.
And if you have any ideas of other questions we can ask on the show, guests that you want to have on the show, keep your feedback coming in. We love it. It just gives us this energy and this buzz when we have your comments, your emojis, your likes. It's fantastic. So thank you very much for joining us.
And finally, thank you for watching Dear Future Grandkids. Like always, I'm Jien, that's Ange, that's Perci. And once again, thank you to our amazing guest today, Vivek. Take care.
Yay.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.